Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary. And today, we're working on a game that I don't really understand the appeal for, but maybe cloning it will help with that. So before we jump into things, remember to leave a like if you enjoy the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And also remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Now, if you've been here a while, you know that I'm not much of a mobile gamer, but I do like to peruse the App Store once in a while and check things out. And lately, the recommendations have really been pushing these sorting games, specifically games that seem to feature products that need to be arranged on shelves in threes. It kind of reminds me of the game a little to the left, but with way more ads. And honestly, I don't understand the appeal. Regardless, I wasn't going to pass up an opportunity to clone something new, which brings us to today's project. We've got the exact same setup, though simplified for reasons that we'll go over later. First, each shelf is basically its own unique mini object. And fun fact, outside of an FX controller, this entire thing is done through a single instance. But anyway, each shelf is treated as its own mini object simply for legibility reasons, because this was going to get complicated really quickly. What's not so complicated is that if you enjoy these videos, supporting me on Patreon will help me continue making them. You can also get access to exclusive content and downloads, plus early access to Dev Diary videos before they're released on YouTube. Now, code-wise, shelves are technically just lists of lists, and using math plus the mouse's position would determine which shelf to focus on by breaking everything down into clickable hotspots. Now, when the game begins, we run a function that does a ton of things. First, it rolls for how many item sets to stock the shelves with, 3 being the minimum and the most being all shelves minus 2. Next, random shelves are stocked with said items. Those items are then shuffled, which sounds simple but was an absolute nightmare to do the logic for. It was mostly due to the fact that we're having to dig within lists of lists to alter other lists within lists. And even then, sometimes the swaps would be between items of the same type. And so to avoid the game starting with already sorted shelves, we do a check, and if the shelf has been solved, we simply give it to the player for free. And believe it or not, all that was just the initiation phase of our game. When the player actually clicks while hovered over an item, the data is stored and then that spot is reset to be blank, which is basically the code equivalent of picking up that item. When the player clicks another spot, whether it's empty or not, that held item is placed in that spot. And if the space was not empty, we simply swap the items. Item placement is followed by another shelf check like we did on initiation, which, by the way, that function first checks if all 3 items are of the same type, and if they are, we add a point to the match counter and reset the shelf. And once that match counter matches the amount of items that were spawned, the game is over and the player has officially won the round. To which they can restart, which will run a function to generate a new batch of items to sort. And this is actually where I stopped, because technically, I had achieved the goal of cloning the sorting game concept, and all that was missing was some type of scoring system or progression. But I mean, you can use your imagination there. And honestly, full transparency, I didn't actually expect to succeed here. It seemed like a much more complicated system, but it ultimately wasn't too difficult to recreate. And even adding things like layers to the shelves like some of these games seem to do would simply require adding more lists to the lists within lists, which would probably get confusing, but it isn't impossible. And yet, still, even after remaking the game and opening it up to my own possibilities and twists, I got nothing. I still don't really understand the appeal, and this is coming from someone who almost 100% it a little to the left and plays Viscera Cleanup for fun. And so if you enjoy these types of games, please tell me, what is it about these games that keep you hooked? And for everyone in general, is there anything that we could do with this concept, to make it maybe make more sense to people like myself? Leave any and all thoughts in the comments. But with that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.